I ended up picking a bunch of the sweet potato vines yesterday, and after bringing them back to the house, I picked a bunch of the leaves off of them, and I just gave them a nice cold rinse in the sink, and I stored them in a couple of plastic bags, and I put some paper towels folded up in the bottom just to help to absorb any of the leftover water. I stored them in the refrigerator, and now I'm going to use them. I thought it would be fun because I have never actually eaten any of these sweet potato leaves before, but I have seen some different videos of people talking about how they've eaten them. So what I want to do is, there is a recipe and it's called the Utica greens, and if you've never had it before, it's usually made with escarole, and then you take either prosciutto or you can use bacon or whatever meats that you have that's a cured meat, and you're gonna fry that up, and then you saute the leaves in with it and add some breadcrumbs and some Parmesan cheese, or you can use any kind of hard Italian cheese, and mix it all together, and then you just throw it in the oven. You can bake it or broil it for a little bit just to get it a little crispy on top. And it's a delicious dish. Oh, and you put cherry peppers in it, so it gives it a nice spice to it. So I thought it would be fun to try to recreate that meal with some of these sweet potato leaves that I picked for my garden, because I want to try to use as much of the stuff in my garden as I can, even though I'm not always used to using everything like the leaves of the sweet potatoes. So I thought I would have you join me in the kitchen while I try to recreate this, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully it turns out good. I'm going to substitute a lot of different things in this because I want to just use what I have. That's the great thing about being a home cook, is using whatever you have in the kitchen and trying to make the best dishes you can with what you have on hand. So the first thing I'm going to do, and the first thing you do with this recipe, whether you're using escarole or I've actually used kale before making this, and you could probably even use like Swiss chard or mustard greens, any type of really firm leaf that will cook down well. The first thing you want to do is just start some water boiling and add some, once it's boiling, I'm going to add some salt in it and just make a nice little salt water. And I'm going to take these leaves, I'm going to do batches of them and just throw them in the water, cook it for probably like 1 to 2 minutes just to soften them up a little bit. And then as I take the batches out, I'm going to just rinse them off in cold water so they don't continue to cook, because I don't want them to be like mushy and overcooked. I just want to soften them a little bit so then you can chew through it. So that's what I'm going to start doing first. And then once that's done, I'm going to just take a cast iron skillet. I'll dice up some onion, and I don't have any prosciutto, but I do have, when we ordered our pork, we always get a couple bags of these bacon ends. So they're pretty good sized chunks, and I'm going to just cut them down small, and I'm going to fry that in with the onion, and I think it'll give it a really good flavor. So we'll get started with that. I'm going to turn this on high so that'll start boiling, and I'm going to put the lid on it just so it will boil a little quicker. While our water is getting boiling, I am going to chop up my onion so I have that ready when I need it. If I was going to be cooking this just for myself, I think I would leave the onion pieces a little bit larger, but not everyone in my family loves onion. So when I do cook with it, I usually try to cut it up small, or sometimes I'll just take the half of an onion and stick it down in the pan like this when I'm cooking it, and it will cook the underside and give me some of that flavor, and then I'll take the onion out and get rid of it. And so I'll have the onion flavor without actually having the chunks of onion in the food that I'm cooking. I'm just going to chop these up a little smaller. All right, so this is really boiling. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit just because I don't want the water to boil over. And I'm just gonna take maybe a couple of pinches, probably end up being about half of a teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna throw some handfuls of the leaves in. I'm gonna stick the lid back on just for a little bit. Okay, let's see how these are doing. They're a little firm still, so I'm just gonna leave it a little bit longer. Okay, so I think this will work all right. It's just a colander inside of a metal bowl, and then I put some cold water in the bottom just so we can stop these from cooking. It's not an ice water or anything, it's just a cold water. So these are nice and starting to wilt. I'm gonna just stick them in here to hold them, and then I'll get some more leaves boiling. And I just put them right in the pot, and they kind of slowly, as they wilt, they will just kind of slowly fall down into the water. I don't try to press them down in or anything. So now with these, I'm gonna just strain the water off them and put some more cold water on. So you can see that these cook down. This was just one batch. It was about 2 big handfuls. And you can see they cook down quite a bit. So I'm going to be needing to do this quite a few times. So they still have a nice bright green color. I'm not cooking them down so much that they start to get a dullness to them. I think that this is going to probably be enough of the greens to make a 9x9 pan. We don't really need more than that. So I'm going to turn this off and just set it on this back burner, and that can cool. And then I'm going to take these greens over to the sink and just give it another rinse. I had some cold water in here, but I'm going to add some more cold water to it so they don't continue cooking. And then we will get our bacon and our onions cooking. All right, I'm gonna put the rest of these leaves all into one bag, and then I'll just put them right back in the refrigerator to use another time. I'm gonna say that I probably ended up using about 10 handfuls of leaves. Before I start cooking anything in the cast iron skillet, I just wanna get some of the bacon cut up, so I'm all ready to go. I'm not sure how much of this I'm gonna end up needing, but I'll probably cut off most of the fat, but I'm going to save it because I do like to use bacon fat to cook things in once in a while. So I can just keep the pieces of it in my refrigerator until I'm ready to use it. I'll try to get most of the meat as I can. Just leave a little bit of fat on there to help it cook. And then I'll dice up the meat that I'm gonna use into just some nice small pieces. I want them to be bite-sized when you're eating it. You don't really want to have any large chunks of bacon in this when you're eating it, or prosciutto, whatever you're using. You really just are using it to flavor the greens. I would say that's about a half a cup right there, a little bit more maybe. Now I'm going to just grab some cherry peppers out of the refrigerator. I have a half of a jar of them in there, and get my skillet heated up. I like to get the sweet cherry peppers. We really like to sometimes slice them up and put them on pizza, and it's really good that way. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to the bottom of the pan. My pan is hot now, so I'm going to add in my onion and my bacon ends, the chunks that I cut up. And I'm going to cook this for about 5 minutes until the bacon is nice and getting a little bit crispy. And I'll just keep stirring it around every once in a while. While this cooks, I am going to start dicing up my cherry peppers. We'll probably only need 5 or 6 cherry peppers depending on the size of them. These have quite a bit of liquid in them, so just be careful when you're cutting into it so it doesn't splash all over you. You can cut these as big or as small as you like. That'll be a good amount. The bacon and onions cooking smell so good. This is just about ready. My onions are looking translucent and the bacon looks like it's getting just a little bit of a crisp on the edge. I don't want it too crispy. Now I'm going to grab my sweet potato leaves and I'm going to add that in. And then I'm also going to grab my cherry peppers and throw those in as well. So here are my leaves. I'm going to scrape my cherry peppers right into the skillet and start cooking those up. And before I put my leaves in, I'm going to put them on this cutting board and I'm going to chop them up a little bit because some of the leaves were pretty big and I don't want anyone to get a fork full of that. I want it to be nice bite-sized pieces. So I have most of the water drained out of here. And I'm going to give it just a rough chop through just so everything's cut up nicely. Just going to give it a nice rough chop through so then it's all bite-sized pieces. There's still a little bit of a bite to this, but it's nice and soft too. I'm going to add all of this in my skillet and I'm going to mix it all together. I love the red and green of this, it's so nice. I'm going to let this continue cooking for about 6 to 8 minutes. And I'm going to add just a pinch of salt and we'll put some pepper. This also would be really good with some garlic in it, but I don't have any on hand right now. And so I'm going to just use some ground garlic, sprinkle it on the top, and get it all mixed in. Our sweet potato leaves are all wilted down. I'm going to add about, I would say like a half a cup I'll do of some breadcrumbs over the top. And then I'm also going to add in some grated Parmesan cheese. I always just use my zester to grate my Parmesan cheese with. I think it's really easy, and the alternative is getting out the box grater, and I don't always like to grab that out, but you're going to add about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, or you could use Romano. That would be really good with this as well. Now I used homemade breadcrumbs with this, but if you don't have homemade breadcrumbs, just go ahead and use store-bought. Either way, it'll be delicious. If you are interested in making some homemade breadcrumbs, I'll leave the link for my breadcrumbs that I make. Not only are they so quick and easy to make, they last a long time in the refrigerator. And if you have any bread that's starting to go stale, don't throw it out. Just make some breadcrumbs. It's super easy. Now I am going to just stick this under the broiler for 2 or 3 minutes, and let's get it all nice and melted and browned on top. And while that's in there, I'm going to clean up just a little bit more. And while I'm cleaning up, I'm also going to pour this coffee in here. When we are going to have some hot weather, sometimes I'll make a pot of coffee and then just let it cool on the back burner and then pour it into a big jar, and I'll put it in the refrigerator, so then the next day when I need a nice cold iced coffee, I'll already have coffee made up. I'm just gonna go ahead, put a lid on this and stick it in the refrigerator. So then tomorrow it's going to be in the 90s. If I need a cold, refreshing drink, I'll just put some ice in a glass and add some cream, a little bit of vanilla sugar that I made with some of the spent vanilla beans after I made some extract the last time. And it just makes for such a refreshing drink. All right, I'm gonna take a look and see how this is going. Oh, this looks really good. And it smells great too. This turned out looking so nice. It's nice and crispy and the cheese is melted. I'm gonna sneak just a little taste test. Make sure I get some of the bacon, some of the cherry peppers. It's really good this way. That tastes great. It tastes just like Utica greens that I remember eating when I was a kid. I think I could use just a little bit more salt in there, but other than that, it's really delicious. I think using the sweet potato leaves in place of the escarole works just as well. So this is my take on Utica greens. I didn't have what I needed to make them, but I chose to use what I did have. So we swapped the escarole with some sweet potato leaves from our garden. We swapped the prosciutto with some bacon ends that I had got from our pork delivery the last time we ordered. Everything else were staples that we have at our house, and it turned out delicious. I think it's going to be a great side dish with tonight's dinner. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. I hope that I was able to inspire you to try something new and get a little bit creative in your own kitchen. If you liked today's video, hit the subscribe button and you'll get notification of new videos that I make each week. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.